Hello, my name is Timpsy, also known as Primate91, and today I will be covering how to speedrun Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And I will, right now I will only talk about the engine, so if you want to know about the glitches, then you should see that tutorial instead. Uh, Sonic 3 and Knuckles have some tweaks to the engine compared to Sonic 3 alone. But I will only cover Sonic 3 and Knuckles, uh, which also is Sonic and Knuckles engine. So let's start by jumping into a stage. And so here I am, I'm playing as Tails. I can jump, I can run, I can fly, I can keep flying, and move around and all that. The way moving works is that if you hold right, I will accelerate until I reach a top speed. If I move onto a slope upwards or a hill, I'll deaccelerate to a certain speed, and then I will maintain that speed. When I'm on a downward slope, I will gain speed to a certain speed cap, which is higher than on flat ground, and I will just like continue running. If I then continue to hold run after a downward slope, I will maintain the speed as long as I hold forward. So by running on slopes, especially slopes like this, I can gain a lot more speed than I would from just running, as long as I hold the direction on my speed is. Uh, so that's basically running in a nutshell. Contrary to Sonic 2, if I have a lot of speed and I jump, I will not lose all my speed to a certain cap where all speed is just cut off to a certain maximum. Instead, my speed will decrease uh, with like some degree of deacceleration to my max running speed. Uh, the next thing that is very basic is jumping. And if I just tap the jump button, I don't get very high. If I hold the jump button, I get a lot higher. And the way this works is that up to a certain, I think, time frame, Tails will have his jumping speed upwards, and as soon as you release the button, he will start deaccelerating, and gravity will take over very quickly. So if you just tap, he will still have the same initial speed, but the the gravity will take over very quickly instead of taking a bit longer. This also affects if you're jumping on slopes, if I can actually jump on the slope. Apparently not. If I have a lot of speed and I jump on the slope, and I just tap the jump button, then it is the same thing as just jumping on the ground. Gravity will take over very quickly, and I won't get very far. If I hold the jump button, and I might want to jump at the right time, I will gain a lot of height. And that is also dependent on how long you hold the jump button. So you can pretty much decide how high you want to go by how long you hold the jump button. If you're jumping on like a regular slope, you will gain some speed that is to the other direction of the perpendicular of the slope. Uh, Basically, if you're thinking Tails is jumping with an upwards force orthogonal to the ground, and if you divide that into components, you have upwards and you have sideways, y and x. And in an upward slope, Tails will fall back because that's the way he will gain speed backwards because it's an upward slope. You can try to jump on an upward slope yourself and see where that will take you. If you jump on a downward slope, you will instead go forward. It's the same mechanic, it's just like forward and backwards. But if you have some speed to it, that becomes very important. Because if I jump off of this slope, I will gain a lot of height and not much speed. If I jump on the top, I will gain like nothing at all, because the mechanics are a little bit wonky with that. I will deaccelerate and I won't get very high. If I jump on the downward slope, I will gain a lot of speed, but not a lot of height. Also, if you just like tap the jump button like before, the normal gravity physics, jump physics, or whatever will take over, and it will be just like jumping off flat ground. And jumping off flat ground is pretty bad. You can see how fast I'm deaccelerating. If I hold the jump button, I will get some speed and I will get some height. If I just tap, I will deaccelerate and I won't get very high. Another thing about jumping is that there's actually 3 types of jumps. That might seem like a lot, but it's very true. If I just run and I jump up this slope, or not, I'm just running and jumping. If you watch this little shiny thing, that's how I can see my direction. If I hold left and advance a couple frames, and right, left, right, left, right, left, you can see I can like change my direction. And I can also... wait, that was wrong. I can also like turn around and like, I don't know, go further forward or backwards, or I can decide where I want to go. I can control Tails in the air, basically. Also, if I spin dash and just like roll off a slope, I can also control Tails. However, if I'm spin dashing and I jump, you can see how I'm holding left and right, but I can't move Tails at all until he reaches flat ground. And that is something you will have to overcome. One thing to deal with that is to... wait. Is to fly. So as soon as I use my A ability, it works as Knuckles or Sonic too. I will regain my ability to control myself in the air, which I wouldn't be able to otherwise. Another thing about jumping, and I think I have to reload the stage for this. Or I'm going to do Knuckles right here instead. Another thing about jumping is that, let's say I have a lot of height, and I just jump down on this thing. I will like destroy it and gain a lot of rings, right? But if I hold the jump button instead, I will bounce off of the ring box and I will go just as high as I was and then a little bit further. So if I, for example, go all the way up here and then hold the jump button, I will go to the same height and then some, and I can like go above the the stage and whatnot doing that. The next thing is spin dashing, and the way spin dashing works is there's one timer and it counts two different things. Probably know how to spin dash. Like you hold down and you like tap a jump button and then you release. And if you do poorly, then you're not gonna get a lot of height or speed. So the way this works is that there's a lowest amount of speed possible you can get from a spin dash. So if I just release this right now, I will get the lowest amount possible. And I won't get very far. Let's say I spin dash right here by this tree. I will... Oh, wait. I will be about that height. If I do 2 spin dashes, I will get a little bit more height. And basically the way it works is that there are 6 levels of spin dash. And that's 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap, 4 tap, 5 tap, 6 tap. But the way this is complicated is because if I just release this now, I won't get higher than I would before. Like, I can spam all I want, and I will still be lower than a 2 tap. And that's because of the timer. If I spin dash and release as soon as possible, I will gain more height. Or at least more speed. Because basically, if I rev up, as it's called, I I'm how to express this? Let's say I'm storing speed right now, and when I stop spinning or revving, then there's like, if you imagine a graph right here, and I rev all I want, then it's going to be up here, and as soon as I stop revving, uh, the timer is going to take in effect, and the speed is going to go down continuously until it's at a 1 tap, and then I won't be very high. But if I rev as much as I can, and then release as soon as I can too, you can see I gain a lot more speed from that, and thus more height. And the way that works is that if I spin dash at 6 tap and then release on the first possible frame, I will get a 6 tap spin dash. And that's the highest amount of speed you can get from a spin dash. Uh, Most likely you will not get a 6 tap spin dash, you will get a 5 tap or less. Because releasing the directional pad, D-pad, uh, within a frame is very hard. And also if you like try to do it too fast or you try to jump too quickly, you'll just jump instead. That's also like a one frame window, I think, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but yeah, I got it there again. Usually that's irritating, but it might be useful if you're like accidentally spin dash and you just want to like save yourself from, I don't know, going down a hole or whatever. Uh, so yeah. And the second timer is the time it takes between the spin dash. It doesn't count how many times you press the spin dash, it counts the time or the frames between every tap. So if you do it as fast as possible and release on the first possible frame, you will get a full 6 tap. If you do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 release, you will still gain some height, but it won't be a lot. But I personally would say that the release is a little bit more important, because what I do is I do a piano roll. Like when I have one finger on each jump button, and then if you can watch my stream, I do like this motion where I, just like when you do this with your fingers against the table, that's what I do with the jump buttons. And if you do that, you don't really have to worry about uh, how long it takes between each spin dash. You might want to worry about, okay, am I going to do a 3 tap or a 1 tap or a 6 tap? Then if you want to do a 3 tap, you're just gonna do it once. If you want to do a 6 tap, you're gonna do it 1 or maybe even 3 times to be sure. And if you're just going to do 1, you're just going to like 1 or 2 or whatever. Some people like to do, like, take their thumb and slide across all the buttons. So that's just personal preference. I like the piano method though, because it takes some time for my thumb to travel back. But that's up to you, what you think is best. So basically the timer is the same for both between all the taps and for the release. So to be perfect, you would of course have to like do this frame perfectly, but this is a 60 frames per second game, so that is obviously not going to be possible. Uh, you can do your best though, and it is important in as Tails is pretty important to do if you're going to do a certain trick in Lava Reef 2 where you skip the boss. So, okay, if we combine our two knowledges right now, then we know that not Carnival Night Act 1. Okay, so we know two things. First of all, it's faster to spin dash than it is to run. However, when you're spin dashing, you can't accelerate forward. You can only, like, brake. And that's a problem, because if you have a long distance to travel, uh, you still want to get there quickly. So, the only way to break out of a spin dash, the Carnival Night, is to jump, or at least going off a ledge. But if I spin dash and jump, okay, maybe bad example, I will lose a lot of speed and then I will have my max running speed anyways, because that's how jumping works on flat ground. However, if I hold the jump button and cancel the jump, because as soon as I release the jump button, or at least I'm traveling down, that's when gravity takes effect and you will slow down a lot. But if this roof right here cancels my jump, then I can keep the speed from the spin dash. And also, because I'm running, I don't lose speed. I don't deaccelerate like I would if I were rolling. Uh, Another part, by the way, is that your braking acceleration is about the double of your forward acceleration. I think it's somewhere around there. Okay, so second of all, let's talk flying. Like I said before, if you spin dash and jump, you can control your character. However, if you fly, you will be able to. When you want to fly, let's pretend there's a ledge right here, or spikes, and you need to jump over the spikes, and then you want to continue with at least some speed on the other side. So you come in a row, you jump, and then you in order to control yourself, you start flying on the way down. Because the way flying works is that if I just tap the jump button twice, I will start flying, of course. But if I hold down the jump button and then try to fly at the same time, it won't work until I'm below a certain vertical velocity. And that right there was like a super fly. I will cover that later. Basically, this works is that if you try to fly when you have a certain velocity upwards, you won't be able to. That's the same thing as if you're flying and you have a lot of speed upwards from flying, it won't matter if you mash or just tap in the right timing, because you can only fly when your velocity is below a certain point anyways. So it won't really matter if you're spamming or you're tapping. I like to spam because, like, whatever. I might as well. Uh, However, if you have a negative speed in the Y direction, then every time you tap fly, it counts. Because every time you tap fly, you have a speed that is less than the cap, where you can't fly anymore. And that's also, like I said before, like the you will start deaccelerating as soon as you release the jump button. So if I try to press both in quick succession, I might be too fast traveling upwards. But if I tap, I will lose my speed so quickly that a flight will most likely break out. Another important mechanic is that if I'm trying to fly and move forward at the same time, I will have a certain max speed. You can see it's pretty slow. If I don't mash anything, I can fly a little bit faster and I will accelerate to a higher cap. But if you want to stay on the same height and still have a lot of speed, you can do just like this trick where you like interrupt the jump. You can like bump into the ceiling. You can see the difference between bumping into the ceiling and just, whoa. The difference between that and just spamming A. It's pretty significant and it's very important in at least one place in the game. One thing I just remember I forgot to cover about jumping is that how I said there were like a few types of jumps. If I jump right here, I can fly.